The air in the upscale Lumiere café was thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee, but it was the silent tension at table 7 that caught the attention of everyone present. A little girl, no older than 10, fumbled with the menu in front of her, trying to read the braille that should have been there but wasn't. Her small hands trembled as she struggled to find something, anything, to give her a sense of what was around her. Her mother, sitting nearby at a corner booth, didn't seem to notice the growing anxiety in her daughter's voice as she called out, "Mommy, where are you? Please come back soon." Her words, barely audible under the hum of the cafe, seemed to go unnoticed. Victoria Bennett, a woman known for her cold perfectionism, sat with her back turned as her daughter's fear rose. Jade Robinson, a 26-year-old waitress at Lumiere, had seen this before. The entitled customers who believed the world should cater to their needs, forgetting the people who depended on them. But this time, there was something different. This little girl's fear was palpable, and her stiff posture suggested more than just an occasional mishap. "Has anyone taken care of table 7?" Jade asked, wiping down the counter as she noticed the girl's anxious movements. Kevin, the manager, glanced up from his phone with a disinterested expression. "The Bennetts are VIPs, Jade. Leave them be. Mrs. Bennett won't let anyone serve her daughter." Jade's eyes narrowed, not out of fear, but out of concern for the girl. She knew the look of someone who had been forgotten for too long. This girl, Clara, was not like the others. Her fine clothes and dignified posture screamed of privilege, but the subtle tremble of her hands told a different story. "Isn't that the Bennett girl?" Jade asked, glancing at the manager again, trying to keep her voice neutral. Kevin gave a dismissive shrug. "Yeah, that's her. The famous Clara Bennett, blind since that accident 5 years ago." The mention of the accident made Jade pause. She had heard rumors, the whispers around the cafe, the subtle undertones of pity that always seemed to surround the Bennetts. The family had a reputation, but Jade was more concerned with the child than the gossip. Jade watched as Clara knocked over the flower arrangement, her hand trembling as she tried to clean it up, not able to see the mess she had made. The girl's lip quivered, eyes searching in desperation for her mother. Without hesitation, Jade made her way to the table, crossing the floor with confidence, despite the knowing glances of the other customers. "Hey there," she said softly, bending down to meet Clara's level. "I'm Jade. Can I help you with that?" Clara froze for a moment, clearly startled by the sudden attention. "Where's my mom?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. "She'll be back soon," Jade replied with a gentle smile. "But let me help you clean up, okay?" Clara hesitated, glancing around nervously. "Mom said not to ask for anything until she comes back," she murmured. Jade smiled warmly. "Your secret's safe with me," she said softly. "How about some hot chocolate while we wait for her?" The smile that spread across Clara's face was like a light in the darkness. It was a small victory, but for Jade, it was everything. As she poured the hot chocolate, she noticed Clara's hands feeling the cup, absorbing the warmth like it was the first time she had ever felt it. "Thank you," Clara whispered, looking up at Jade with a look of genuine appreciation. "I like it when people don't treat me like I'm invisible." Jade's heart ached at the sincerity in the girl's voice. She nodded, trying to hide the emotion rising in her chest. As Jade poured the hot chocolate, the gentle clinking of the cup on the saucer sounded almost too loud in the quiet of the cafe. Clara's fingers hovered around the edge of the cup, unsure whether to pick it up. Jade could see the faintest hint of confusion, the uncertainty of how to handle something so simple. "Here," Jade said softly, placing her hands gently around Clara's, guiding them to the warmth of the cup. "Just hold it like this." Clara's fingers curled around the edges, and for a moment, Jade saw something in the girl's eyes, something like relief, but also a deep sadness, as if she'd been forgotten for too long. Clara finally took the cup, her lips curving into a tentative smile. "Thank you, Jade." Her voice was small, but it held a weight that Jade couldn't ignore. "I don't think I've ever felt someone's kindness like this before." Jade's heart clenched as she watched the girl, the weight of her words sinking in. She knew that Clara's experience was not just about blindness. It was about the way the world treated her differently because of it. A privileged family, yet so isolated. Just then, Victoria Bennett's sharp voice cut through the air, commanding attention without raising a finger. "Clara, what are you doing? I told you not to ask for help." Her tone was cold, authoritative, as though she were speaking to a servant rather than her own daughter. Clara flinched, her fingers instinctively tightening around the cup, as if to shield herself from her mother's reprimand. Jade stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to do. She had witnessed many uncomfortable situations in her life, but this one felt different, darker. "I'm sorry," Jade said quickly, taking a small step back. "I was just helping Clara. She seemed a little nervous." Her voice was steady, but there was an edge to it now, a hint of defiance that wasn't there before. Victoria's icy stare turned to Jade, as if the waitress had just crossed an invisible line. "I don't need you to play babysitter," she said coldly, her words dripping with disdain. "My daughter doesn't need help from people like you." The words stung, but Jade didn't flinch. She wasn't going to let Victoria's prejudice define her actions. "I'm just trying to make sure Clara feels comfortable, that's all." Jade kept her tone calm, but her heart raced. She knew what this was about. Victoria saw herself above others, above people like Jade. "That's enough," Victoria snapped, turning back to Clara with a dismissive wave. "You'll never learn how to fit in if you keep relying on others." Clara's face fell at her mother's words, but she said nothing. The silence was suffocating. Jade stood there for a moment, staring at Clara, who now looked even smaller in her mother's presence. She had seen this dynamic before, too many times. The privileged, the powerful, using their position to silence those who needed them the most. As Victoria turned to leave, Jade didn't hold back any longer. "You don't get to treat people like that, Victoria," she called after her, her voice stronger than before. Victoria stopped in her tracks, turning around with a cold smile. "And what are you going to do about it?" she challenged, as though daring Jade to say more. Jade didn't flinch. "I'm going to keep doing what's right," she said, her voice steady. "And I'll make sure Clara knows she's not invisible no matter how you treat her." Victoria's expression darkened, but she said nothing more. She turned on her heel and left the café, the door swinging shut behind her with a force that seemed to echo the finality of the moment. Jade stood there for a moment, watching Clara's small figure. "You're not invisible, Clara. Not to me." She smiled softly, her heart heavy with the weight of what she knew had just happened. The following days in the café seemed to pass in a blur for Jade. Every time she saw Clara and Victoria walk in, it felt like a heavy weight in the air. Clara always looked down, avoiding eye contact, while Victoria strutted in with the air of someone who owned the place. On one particularly quiet afternoon, when there were only a few customers in the café, Jade found Clara sitting alone at a corner table. Her usual cold demeanor was gone, replaced by a vulnerability Jade had never seen before. "Clara," Jade approached cautiously, her voice soft. "Are you okay?" Clara looked up, her eyes red from crying. For a moment, Jade didn't know what to say. She'd never seen Clara so broken before. I don't know what's wrong with me," Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. "I try so hard, but nothing ever feels right." Jade took a seat across from her, giving Clara space, but not too much distance. She had seen enough to know that sometimes the smallest gesture could help. "It's okay to feel lost, Clara," Jade said gently, her voice full of understanding. "I can't pretend to know exactly what you're going through, but I can tell you this: you are not alone." Clara looked up at her, surprised by the sincerity in Jade's voice. "But my mom, she doesn't see me," Clara said, her voice cracking. "She just sees the things I can't do, the things I'm not." Jade took a deep breath, her heart aching for the girl sitting before her. She could see how much pain Clara had been carrying, how heavy the weight of rejection had been on her shoulders for years. "Your worth is not defined by what you can or cannot do, Clara," Jade said, her voice firm but kind. "It's not about what people see or what they want you to be. It's about who you are, deep down. And I see you. I see your strength. I see your heart." Clara's eyes filled with tears again, but this time there was something different in her expression. A sense of relief, as if a heavy burden was beginning to lift. "Thank you, Jade," Clara whispered. "I've never heard anyone say that to me before." Jade smiled gently. "You don't need to thank me. You just need to believe it." The moment was interrupted when Victoria stormed into the café, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Her eyes immediately locked on Clara, a mixture of frustration and anger on her face. "Clara!" Victoria snapped. "What are you doing here, sulking? We're leaving. Now!" Clara flinched, shrinking back into her chair, as if trying to make herself as small as possible. The familiar feeling of inferiority rushed back, but Jade wasn't going to let it happen again. "Victoria, you don't get to treat her like this anymore," Jade said, standing up and facing Victoria with a calm but resolute expression. "Clara deserves more than this. She deserves respect, not to be made to feel like she's invisible." Victoria's eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment, Jade saw a flicker of uncertainty. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by her usual cold mask. "You have no idea what it's like to be in my shoes," Victoria spat, her voice filled with venom. "You're just a waitress. You think you know what's best for my daughter?" Jade didn't back down. "Maybe I don't know your life, but I know Clara, and I know she deserves better than this. So, if you're not willing to see her for who she truly is, maybe it's time someone else does." Victoria glared at her for a long moment, before turning away. "Come, Clara. We're leaving now." Her voice was low, but there was a finality in it. Clara stood, her movements hesitant, but she didn't look at her mother. Not this time. As Clara walked towards her mother, Jade caught her eye one last time. And for the first time, Clara didn't look away. She gave Jade a small, knowing smile, one that spoke volumes. Jade watched them leave, her heart both heavy and hopeful. She knew there was a long road ahead for Clara, but she also knew that this was a step toward something better. And sometimes, that's all it takes. The following days after the confrontation with Victoria were strangely quiet. Jade didn't see Clara much, and when she did, it was always in passing, a brief glance or a fleeting smile. There was an unspoken understanding between them now. One evening, after closing the café, Jade was about to lock the door when she heard a familiar voice. Jade. She turned around to see Clara standing in the doorway, her shoulders tense, but her eyes filled with determination. "Clara, what are you doing here?" Jade asked, a mix of surprise and concern in her voice. Clara stepped inside, closing the door behind her. She didn't say anything at first, just looked around the café, as if gathering the strength to speak. Finally, she spoke. "I need to talk to you, Jade. About everything. About my mom. About me." Jade nodded, motioning for Clara to sit. "Take your time. I'm here for you." Clara sat down across from Jade, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About how I deserve respect," she began, her voice wavering slightly. It's hard to believe that sometimes." Jade listened quietly, her gaze soft. She had a feeling Clara was just beginning to process everything, to let it sink in. "My mom, she's never told me she loves me. Not once," Clara continued, her voice breaking. "I always thought if I tried hard enough, she'd see me. But now, I think I've been trying for all the wrong reasons. I was never trying for myself. I was trying to be what she wanted me to be, what I thought she needed me to be." Jade reached across the table, her hand resting gently on Clara's. "You've been carrying all of this alone, haven't you?" Clara nodded, wiping away the tears that had started to fall. "I don't know how to stop, Jade. It's like I've been trained to keep pushing, even when it hurts. Even when it feels like I don't matter." Jade squeezed her hand gently. "You matter. You matter to me, and you matter to the world. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." Clara looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. For the first time, it felt like someone truly saw her, someone who wasn't trying to change her, but just wanted to understand. "But I don't know who I am, Jade," Clara whispered. "I've spent so much time pretending to be someone I'm not. I don't even know where to start." Jade smiled warmly. "You start by being honest with yourself, and then you let the rest of the world catch up." There was a long pause before Clara spoke again, this time with a newfound strength. "I want to try. I want to stop hiding from who I really am. But I don't know if I can do it alone." Jade leaned forward, her voice soft but unwavering. "You're not alone, Clara. You don't have to do this by yourself." Clara's lips trembled as she held back more tears. She had never felt so seen, so understood. For the first time, there was hope where there had only been despair. "Thank you, Jade," Clara whispered, a small, hopeful smile spreading across her face. "Thank you for believing in me." Jade smiled back, her heart full. "I'm always here for you, Clara, no matter what." Clara nodded, standing up slowly. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was walking away from something. She felt like she was walking toward something. The next few days passed quietly, but there was a shift in the air. Jade could feel it. Clara had changed, even if it was just a little. There was more confidence in her step, a new light in her eyes. But the real test was coming. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Clara walked into the café, her expression more serious than usual. She approached Jade, who was cleaning the counter, and stopped just short of the table where Jade was working. "Jade, I need to talk to you," Clara said, her voice low but firm. "About my mom." Jade looked up at Clara, sensing the weight of her words. "What's going on?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. Clara sat down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "I'm going to confront her," she said quietly, her gaze hardening. "I can't keep pretending that everything's okay when it's not. I can't keep letting her tell me who I am, who I'm supposed to be." Jade's heart skipped a beat. She had seen this determination before, but never like this. This was something deeper, something far more real. "Are you sure about this?" Jade asked gently, her concern evident. "It won't be easy, you know." Clara nodded, her eyes fixed on Jade with an intensity that almost scared her. "I have to do this. For me. And for the little girl who never thought she was enough." Jade was silent for a moment, her heart aching for Clara. But she knew, deep down, that this was the right step for her. "If you need me, I'll be there," Jade said softly. "But no matter what happens, just remember that you are enough. You always have been." Clara smiled, a soft, almost grateful smile. "Thank you, Jade. I don't know what I would do without you." The next day, Clara didn't come to the café. Jade didn't worry, knowing that Clara was probably preparing herself for the confrontation with her mother. She spent the day working quietly, her thoughts occasionally drifting to Clara, wondering how she was doing, whether she had gone through with it. Finally, around 6 p.m., Clara appeared at the café, her eyes puffy from crying, but her face set with resolve. She walked over to Jade, who immediately noticed the change in her. There was a strength in her that hadn't been there before. Clara was no longer the frightened girl who let her mother dictate her life. She was someone who had found her voice. "I did it," Clara said, her voice hoarse but steady. "I told her everything. I told her that I wasn't going to live in her shadow anymore, that I was going to be who I am, even if she didn't like it." Jade stepped forward and wrapped Clara in a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You're stronger than you know." Clara squeezed Jade back, a quiet sob escaping her as the tears she had been holding back finally broke free. "Thank you, Jade," she whispered through her tears. "I couldn't have done it without you." Jade held Clara for a moment longer, then pulled back, her expression soft but serious. "You did it for you, Clara. And that's the most important thing." Clara wiped her tears away, her face filled with a newfound sense of peace. "I think I'm ready now. Ready to live my life. On my own terms." Jade smiled, her heart full. "Then go live it, Clara. The world is waiting for you." The following weeks were a turning point for Clara. She spent less time at home, more time in the café with Jade, and started to explore her newfound independence. Her mother, though distant and cold, didn't make an effort to stop her. Clara had broken free, and there was no going back. Jade watched Clara with a mixture of pride and concern. Clara was strong, but Jade knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, people who didn't understand, and moments of doubt. But Jade also knew Clara had the resilience to face it. One evening, as they closed the café together, Clara hesitated before speaking. Her voice was quiet, but the weight of her words was clear. "Jade, I've been thinking. I want to go back to school. I want to finish my education." Jade looked up, surprised but not shocked. She had known that Clara was smart, determined. But this was a step forward she hadn't expected so soon. "Clara, that's amazing," she said softly, her eyes warm with pride. "But are you sure? Going back might mean dealing with people who don't understand you." Clara's face softened, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I've spent my life trying to hide, trying to be something I'm not. I'm done with that. I'm going to school because I want to. I want to show everyone that I'm worth something, that I'm not defined by anyone else's expectations." Jade smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I believe in you, Clara. You don't need anyone's approval to know your worth. You've already proven that to me." The next day, Clara made the decision to enroll in the local community college. It wasn't the easiest path. She had to work part-time to support herself, and she had to navigate the challenges of being a young black woman trying to integrate into a predominantly white institution. But Clara was determined. Jade offered to help her with the application process, and she supported Clara every step of the way. They worked together, often late into the night, filling out forms and writing personal statements. It wasn't just about school, it was about giving Clara the tools to succeed. A few weeks later, Clara received the acceptance letter. When she opened it, her hands shook with excitement. She had made it. She was going to school, and this time it was on her terms. "I did it, Jade," Clara said, her voice filled with disbelief and joy. "I'm really going." Jade hugged Clara tightly, feeling a lump form in her throat. "I'm so proud of you, Clara. You've earned this, every single bit of it." "I couldn't have done it without you," Clara said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You were the first person who believed in me, and you gave me the strength to believe in myself." "You did it, Clara," Jade replied. "You always had the strength. You just needed to find it." Clara's journey had only just begun. There were still struggles ahead, but now she was armed with the confidence and the knowledge that she could overcome anything. The girl who had once been afraid to speak up, afraid to be herself, was now ready to face the world head-on. Jade watched her go, a proud smile on her face, knowing that Clara had become someone who could make a difference in the world. She had found her voice, and in doing so, she had helped others find theirs.